The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who settle for mediocrity lies in a brutal truth that 99% of people refuse to accept. You're wasting your energy trying to control what cannot be controlled. While the mediocre fight against invisible forces, the extraordinary have discovered the secret that Napoleon Hill called the most powerful principle of the human mind. This principle transformed Thomas Edison from a struggling inventor into a genius of innovation. It elevated Henry Ford from a farm boy mechanic to an industrial titan. And today you will discover exactly how to apply this same secret that separated these giants from the crowd of frustrated dreamers. Because here's the truth that will shift your entire perspective. Your obsession with controlling everything isn't just wasting your energy. It's literally sabotaging your ability to achieve anything meaningful. It's like trying to hold water in your clenched fists. The tighter you squeeze, the more slips through your fingers. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the most successful people in America. He interviewed Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and President Theodore Roosevelt. And you know what he discovered? That all of them mastered a lost art. The art of distinguishing between what they could control and what they could not control. First, you cannot control what others think about you. Period. You can spend hours, days, even weeks trying to shape how others perceive you, but that's like trying to control the wind with your bare hands. Imagine this situation. Edison was ridiculed for trying to perfect the electric light bulb. The New York Herald called him crazy. Wall Street investors mocked his attempts. He had a choice: spend his energy trying to convince every critic or focus on what really mattered. Edison chose the path of the extraordinary. He didn't waste a second trying to control that opinion. Instead, he concentrated all his energy on what he could control: his experiments, his persistence, his discipline. Consider Henry Ford. His Detroit automobile company failed completely. He lost everything. Imagine the despair, the humiliation in Motor City. But here's what separates the mediocre from the extraordinary. Ford didn't waste time lamenting circumstances he couldn't control. Instead of becoming another victim of circumstances, he focused on what he could control: his ability to learn, to adapt, to start over with more wisdom. Third, and this is the hardest truth to swallow, you cannot control final outcomes. You can do everything right, follow every strategy, pour all your energy into something, and still the result may not match your expectations. The great industrialists that Hill studied understood this perfectly. They knew they could only control three things: their thoughts, their decisions, and their actions. Rockefeller didn't control the price of oil in the world market, but he controlled how his company operated, how he made decisions, how he reacted to changes. Carnegie didn't control the demand for steel across the nation, but he controlled the quality of his Pittsburgh mills, the efficiency of his operations, the strategic vision of his empire. This is the dichotomy of control that separates winners from the eternally frustrated. The mediocre spend 80% of their energy trying to control the 20% that is beyond their reach. The extraordinary invest 100% of their energy in elements that are completely under their domain. But why is this so hard to accept? Why does our mind insist on fighting against this reality? It's simple. Because accepting that we don't control everything seems like an admission of weakness. It feels like we're surrendering. But the truth is exactly the opposite. When Edison stopped trying to control press criticism, he freed up gigantic mental energy to focus on his inventions. When Ford stopped lamenting the failure of his first company, he channeled all his frustration to build something even greater. When Rockefeller accepted that he couldn't control all aspects of the market, he became a master at controlling what really mattered. Think of your brain like an iPhone with limited battery. Every app you leave running in the background drains your power. The human brain works the same way. It's like a processor with finite capacity. Every moment you spend trying to control the uncontrollable is wasted processing. It's mental energy thrown away. Its focus dissipated in fantasies of absolute control. And here's what will transform your perspective. Imagine if you could recover all that wasted energy and direct it like a laser toward what really matters. And here's what happens. While you waste 80% of your mental energy trying to control others' opinions or external circumstances, your true objectives get abandoned, starved of the mental fuel they need to develop. Hill discovered that the most powerful men in America shared a daily mental ritual. They started each morning by clearly defining three lists: The first list contained everything over which they had total control. The second list contained everything over which they had partial influence. The third list contained everything that was completely beyond their reach. And then they did something revolutionary. They completely ignored the third list. They didn't waste even a second of mental energy on what they couldn't control. All their strength, all their intelligence, all their passion was channeled exclusively into the first two lists. This isn't passivity. This is pure concentrated power. It's the difference between a focused laser that cuts steel and a flashlight that vaguely illuminates everything around. A laser focuses all its energy on a single point and can cut through the toughest metal. A flashlight spreads that same energy in all directions and barely illuminates what's around it. The mediocre are flashlights, the great ones are lasers. Think about your life right now. How many hours did you spend this week worrying about things that are completely out of your control? How many conversations did you have about problems you can't solve? How much mental energy did you waste on hypothetical scenarios about situations that don't even depend on you? The human mind has an extraordinary capacity to create unnecessary suffering. It's like having a Hollywood screenwriter living inside your head. It takes a simple situation, "I can't control this," and transforms it into a full-blown Netflix drama, complete with episodes of anxiety, seasons of frustration, and tragic endings of helplessness. But here's the secret Hill discovered. Extraordinary people developed a mental immunity to this kind of trap. They learned to silence this internal screenwriter before it started crafting unnecessary tragedies. They understood that true freedom doesn't come from controlling everything around you. True freedom comes from having absolute control over what really matters. Your response, your discipline, your persistence. Look at these practical examples. Carnegie couldn't control his competitors' prices, but he could control innovation within his company. Ford couldn't control every consumer preference, but he could control the quality and price of his products. Edison couldn't control investor skepticism, but he could control the precision of his experiments. And here's the paradox that will transform your perspective. The more you accept what you can't control, the more power you gain over what you actually can control. It's like releasing a muscle that's been constantly tense. Suddenly you discover strength you didn't even know existed. But here's the brutal truth that will separate you from the 99% who only consume knowledge. Knowing this isn't enough. You can have all the insights in the world, but if you don't apply them, it's just intellectual entertainment, like watching a fitness documentary while staying on the couch. And now you're about to discover something that few ever master. True transformation happens when you master the practical art of distinguishing, moment by moment, between what's in your hands and what isn't. It's a skill that needs to be trained until it becomes automatic. But the great discovery that Hill made studying these industry giants goes far beyond a simple mental technique. He discovered that there's a system, a specific method that anyone can learn to develop this laser control over the elements that really matter. This system transforms paralyzing anxiety into productive energy. It converts constant frustration into relentless focus. It changes mental chaos into crystal clarity about exactly where to invest every second of your attention. But knowing only the three elements you can control is just the beginning. The real breakthrough happens when you learn to apply this knowledge systematically, daily, until it becomes second nature, until your mind automatically separates the controllable from the uncontrollable without conscious effort. Because here's the reality, you've already come this far on the journey. You've already invested halfway to discovering the secret that transformed ordinary people into legends. And now that you understand the foundation, the dichotomy of control, you're ready to take the next step. The next step that will reveal exactly how to transform this knowledge into a practical system you can apply today. How to create the mental ritual that will free all that energy you're wasting and direct it like a laser toward what can really change your life. Because knowing isn't enough, but knowing and having the exact method to apply that changes everything. Now that you understand how your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy, it's time to put this knowledge into practice. The difference between those who only know and those who transform their lives is in one word: action. Because what comes next will determine whether you join the select group of those who really apply or remain among the eternal spectators. Napoleon Hill didn't just theorize about the power of thought. He created a practical system, tested by decades of observing the most successful entrepreneurs of his time. And today you're going to discover exactly how to apply this system in your daily life. First crucial point, your thoughts need structure. It's not enough to just think positive. That's like trying to build a house without architectural plans. You need a specific framework that directs your mental energy. Hill discovered something fascinating. The great industrialists, inventors, and visionaries who transformed our world didn't choose the easy path. Instead, they embraced obstacles as opportunities for growth. They saw each problem as a mental gym where they could strengthen their discipline. Let me share with you the 5 daily rituals that Hill documented in his research. 5 simple practices that, when applied consistently, completely reprogram your relationship with success. Ritual number 1, clear goal definition. Every great achiever that Hill studied had one characteristic in common. They knew exactly what they wanted. Not vaguely, but with precise details. Henry Ford didn't just want to make cars. He wanted to put America on wheels, making automobiles accessible to every working family. Thomas Edison didn't just want to invent things. He had specific goals for each project. Your mission for the next 3 days is to crystallize your goals. Take pen and paper right now and write, "I want," and complete it with specific details. Not just more money, but exactly how much, by when, and for what purpose. Not just to be happy, but what specific lifestyle will bring that fulfillment. Ritual number 2, daily visualization with emotional intensity. Hill discovered that industry titans didn't just imagine success, they felt it viscerally. They created mental images so vivid that their brains began processing these visions as future memories. Visualize success as a destination you've already reached. Don't just imagine, mentally live that reality. See yourself living the life you desire. Feel the emotions, hear the sounds, notice the details. What does the texture of the life you want feel like? Do this every day, preferably right after waking, when your subconscious mind is most receptive, like a dry sponge absorbing water. 5 minutes of focused visualization, with all senses engaged, beats hours of scattered daydreaming. Ritual number 3, the power of self-affirmation with conviction. The great achievers that Hill observed had the habit of speaking to themselves in a specific way. They repeated their goals and success declarations with absolute conviction, not as hope but as certainty. Say your affirmations with conviction, because when you truly believe, your subconscious mind has no choice but to work to make it a reality. I am capable of achieving my goals. I deserve success. Every setback makes me stronger. Repeat these phrases looking in the mirror, with the same certainty that you have that the sun will rise tomorrow. Ritual number 4, immediate action after visualization. Here's the secret that separates dreamers from achievers. After determining what you want and visualizing your success, you must take action. Success isn't just about dreaming. It's about making decisions and acting on them. Hill observed that all great entrepreneurs had a simple rule. Never end a planning or visualization session without defining at least one concrete action for the same day. It doesn't matter if it's a phone call, research, or a conversation, but always something tangible that brings them closer to their goal. And ritual number 5, protection of mental energy. Hill discovered something fascinating. The most successful were extremely selective with their influences. They understood that the mind is like a sponge, constantly absorbing information from the environment. Eliminate negative influences. Protect your energy, protect your mind. This means being mindful about what you consume, the news you read, the people you spend time with, the content you absorb. If something doesn't feed your goals, it's hurting your progress. Here's the most powerful part of Hill's method, the principle that many ignore because it seems contradictory, the application of universal reciprocity. He observed that all great achievers practiced a fundamental concept that goes against our selfish nature: giving before receiving. It's like planting before harvesting. Sounds like common sense, but how many people actually live this way? The ultimate key to attraction is giving first. When you focus on how you can contribute, on how you can add value, you activate a powerful psychological law. Your brain begins to identify opportunities that previously went unnoticed. Your energy changes, your presence changes, and consequently the results change. But here's what Hill considered most important: immediate implementation. He said that knowledge without application is just entertainment. And that's why your transformation begins today, not tomorrow. Now comes the part that separates talkers from doers. implementation. Over the next 3 days, you will apply these 5 rituals religiously. Not when you have time or when you feel inspired. Religiously. Day 1. Clear goal definition and first visualization session. Day 2. Refinement of affirmations and first concrete action. Day 3. Implementation of energy protection and practice of giving first. Each day you delay is a wasted opportunity to begin your transformation. Hill had a phrase he constantly repeated: what the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. But he always added a condition: as long as it's accompanied by persistent action. Think of the titans that Hill studied: Andrew Carnegie, who built America's steel backbone; John D. Rockefeller, who revolutionized the oil industry; Alexander Graham Bell, who connected the world through the telephone. All of them started with the same tools you have today: a mind and the decision to use it in a disciplined manner. The difference between you and these giants isn't in innate talent or luck. It's in the consistent application of these fundamental principles. They understood that success is a process, not an accident. And here's a truth that few realize: you already have everything you need. Your mind is the most powerful tool in the universe. It created civilizations, solved impossible problems, and can certainly transform your personal life. The challenge isn't the lack of resources, it's the lack of conscious direction of these resources. That's exactly what you're learning today: how to direct your mental energy surgically to create the results you desire. Every morning when you wake up, remember, you have the same mental capacity as the great achievers throughout American history. The only difference is that they learned to use it systematically, and now you know how to do this too. You came this far seeking to discover the most powerful principle of the human mind that Napoleon Hill identified. And now you possess it. The dichotomy of control that separates great achievers from the eternally frustrated is no longer a mystery to you. Your transformation journey began the moment you decided to seek this knowledge. Every concept you absorbed, every insight you had, every moment of recognition, all of this is already changing how your mind processes possibilities and opportunities. You are now part of a select group of people who understand the fundamental difference between wasted effort and directed energy, people who comprehend why some individuals achieve extraordinary results while others remain trapped in cycles of frustration. But remember, knowledge is only the first step of any transformative journey. Real change happens through the consistent implementation of these principles. You've already invested precious time to reach this understanding. Now is the moment to honor that investment through action. The transformation you seek begins with a simple decision: apply at least one of the 5 rituals you learned today. Perhaps it's writing your specific goals with precise details, or doing your first intense 5-minute visualization session, or defining your personal affirmations and repeating them with conviction. The choice is yours, but remember what Hill discovered: the difference between those who achieve greatness and those who settle for mediocrity isn't about available resources. It's about the speed of implementation. The choice is yours, but remember what Hill discovered: the difference between those who achieve greatness and those who settle for mediocrity isn't about available resources. It's about the speed of implementation. Great achievers didn't wait for perfect conditions. They created favorable conditions through disciplined action. Your mind now possesses the tools that Hill took decades to discover and document. You have access to the same principles that transformed ordinary men into legends of industry and innovation. The question isn't whether these principles work. Hill already proved this through hundreds of case studies. The question is, will you apply them with the same dedication that they did? Because when you master these 5 rituals, when they become a natural part of your daily routine, you'll notice something extraordinary. Your external reality will begin to reflect your new internal reality. And this is just the beginning of a journey that can take you to heights you can't even imagine today. The principles you've learned today are the solid foundation upon which you can build an extraordinary life. What you build upon this foundation depends entirely on your dedication and persistence. But now you have something most people will never have: a clear map, tested by the giants of history, to navigate between what you can control and what you must accept. Remember, every great achiever started exactly where you are now with a decision. The decision to stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable and focus completely on what is in your hands. Your transformation doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins with the next thought you choose to have, with the next action you decide to take. In the next moment, you consciously apply these principles you've discovered today. Reflect on your journey so far. You've invested valuable time to understand the same principles that transformed Edison, Ford, Carnegie, and Rockefeller into legends. Now you have the same key they used, the art of focusing all your energy on what you can truly control. The question that remains is, how will you apply this wisdom in your life from today onward?